Hi, everyone. We are here with the Janelle Show, and I am here with Jennifer Braganza. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I am great, and thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be joining you today.
I'm so happy you're here too. I really I'm looking forward to getting to know you today. So, Jennifer, what is it that you do?
So, I am an engineer by profession and
Mm.
training, and I've been in corporate America for about 20 years. And in my business, I work with people who are trying to advance their corporate career while living a life that aligns to their values. So, I teach them things like influence and communication skills, strategic communication, how to communicate with executives. But my passion is around really helping corporate professionals on how to develop the skills to lead change in their organizations because the world is changing so fast around us. There's this great skill set that you can develop so that you can be an internal entrepreneur, and that's my passion, is helping people transform their workplace, their communities, and their lives.
So, it's basically being in corporate America, but being an entrepreneur, so innovated in
Mhm.
the job space that you're in.
Exactly. It's one of the skills that most leaders will say is most in demand, that they are looking for people to have it, because the reality is the world around us is changing so fast. I always think about this. Do you remember MapQuest, when you would have to like
Oh,
print
yeah.
directions out to get in your
Yeah.
car to find your way someplace? When was the last time you had to do that? It feels like it was like centuries ago, but realistically, it wasn't that long ago. And so the world is changing so fast. The ability to lead that change, not just adapt to it, but be the leader of that change, is a critical skill for people who want to advance their career and be leaders in their organization.
Yeah, because I feel like there's always a way to do something better than what is currently
Exactly.
exists, and it's just about finding that way. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. I love what you do. That's perfect. I feel like that's needed in customer service so much. Like, I don't know about you, but when I call customer service these days, it is so bad. It's such a bad experience.
Well, I think one of the challenges, and this is something we have to think about as entrepreneurs, there's kind of two ways that people try to solve problems. And most of us have what I call a curse. And
Mhm.
our curse is that we are so familiar with what we do that
Mm.
we forget that somebody who does not have any knowledge about it and has no context is not able to understand what we're saying. And I see this a lot in with entrepreneurs, but also in call centers, right? Like somebody is solving a problem or somebody is answering a question, and they're answering it like that you're an expert in something and you have no idea what they're talking about. Or they're solving a problem in a way that works for the internal operations, but not in a way that makes it a really good experience for their customer. And it's not intentional. It's actually the exact opposite. They're not paying any attention to the customer experience, and that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, is how do you build great customer experiences, but build them not just as an anomaly, but how do you build a process that supports those great experiences. And I think we as entrepreneurs have to do the same thing, because one of the worst things we can do, and this happens to me a lot too, is I need someone to do something around my home, and you call like six people and none of them call you back.
Yeah.
And there's small businesses, I'm a big believer in trying to support small businesses,
Yeah.
but nobody calls you back, or they call you back. I literally had somebody come out one time, and he came out, he did all the measurements, and he was quoting me on a patio. I wanted to have a concrete patio board. He
Mhm.
never came back with the quote. And I remember in that moment going like, you did all the work and then you didn't close the deal. And I was like, seriously? And then I stopped and I went, oh my goodness, how many times do I do that as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
How many times does a client come to me and say, Jennifer, I need your services? And I go, great, let's set up time and we have a call. And then I never follow up. Right. And I don't follow up because, at the end of the call, they're like, well, this was great, but I don't know I'm ready yet. Or this was great, but I think I need more information. And so I take that to be a no. And it wasn't a no, but I
Yeah.
treat it like a no and I move on to the next thing. And we are in a time where I think relationships are important, especially in the type of work that I do. And we have to focus on building the relationship, and the business will come. And I think that's a very hard transition. And there's a lot of, what do they call them? Like internet marketing people who will be like, all you have to do is put a Facebook ad out there and they'll come to you. And it's like, no, that's not how real business happens. Real business happens with people that you trust. And you know this,
Yeah.
right? Like think about how you choose who to do business with.
Yeah.
And you're not different than your clients in that sense, right? Like nobody wants to invest with somebody they've never heard of. So it's all about that relationship building. But what I find, and I'm on a tangent, so I apologize, but what I find is those experiences that I have engaging with others around me, whether it's like the handyman or the electrician, remind me about the basics of being a good entrepreneur and the things that I need to make sure that I am building processes for, because I do it, I'm a side gigger, I do it, with a full-time job. And so I have to make sure I've got processes and systems that are going to take care of that. And sometimes it's as simple as putting reminders in your calendar that today's the day you need to follow up with that person that you talked to 3 weeks ago and just check in and see how they're doing. That's all you're doing. But if it's not in your calendar, you won't remember to do it. Or scheduling the email. Now emails are amazing, and you can literally on a Saturday afternoon sit down and write all the emails you need to send that week. Even one-on-one emails through, like I use a business Gmail. You can schedule those Gmail emails to go out to one client on a Thursday and, hey, just checking in, how are you doing? And you just write them all up, right? So I think it's about building processes and systems that enable us to deliver that great experience for our clients as entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I like that. I need to do that. I need to follow up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this thing since COVID, because nobody was working, right? We're all just sitting at home. So I got on the internet and I was like, I want to have coffee chats. I must have had about 20 coffee chats with people that I had no other chance of meeting at any point in time, but just chatted. And it ended up that I ended up with 6 clients when things started rolling from those coffee chats.
Yep.
So it's all, like you said, about genuine connection and following up. So I do the genuine connection really well, but I have to go back and follow up. And even if it's just a, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Especially in these times that we're having right now, just to say, how are things going with you in a genuine way, to say, how are things going with you? Not just, I want your money.
And I think there's ways that you could, because I hate sales. Believe it or not, I jokingly tell people this. One of my challenges is I don't like talking to strangers. It's something that, like, I don't make phone calls for this reason. I actually have an amazing lady in my life who is kind of like my jack of all trades and does things for me. And there are times when I want to outsource making phone calls to her because I just don't want to talk to a stranger. And I mean simple things like calling the cable company to be like, can you do this? Like, I just don't want to do it because it involves talking to a stranger.
Yet here's
well, this is different because this is me helping people, and in my head, those are two totally different things. But one of the things that therefore I recognize, you were talking about virtual coffees chats. I've been doing those for years in corporate America because it's a way of building your network and staying in touch with people. And the way I typically do that, so talking about a process there, just to maybe give you a hint, the way I do that is the first coffee I have, it's just a coffee. It's a one-time thing. And I'm getting a sense of our chemistry as people. I'm like, I like this person. We seem to have a lot in common. This is a relationship that I think could go somewhere. And so at the end of the conversation, I'm like, this was fun. Would you mind if we stayed in touch? And the person 99.9% of the time says, yeah, that'd be great. And I go back home and I create a calendar invite. And depending on the type of relationship, it just pops up once a quarter to have a coffee, and it's on her calendar and on mine, or his calendar and mine, and we're able to connect. Do you know what happens if you don't calendar it? How many months does it take? Like, it might be a year and you're like, dang, I meant to follow up with that person, right? So simple things like just taking that moment to put it in your calendar right then and there can help it pop up and help you build that, again, that system of following up. And I use my calendar for that all the time because there's that reoccurring thing that you can do in your calendar.
I like that. I like that. I like so many ideas are coming to me right now, but that's just my brain of how it works. But yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. Um, so you're calendaring. So okay, so you're working a full-time job and you're also running. So how do you find clients with this type of business?
So most of my clients I find through things like LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And some of my clients are organizational clients. So they've seen me speak at a conference and they follow up and say, hey, we'd like you to come do something here. But most of my clients are through networking and relationships. So because I do work a full-time job, I'm picky about who I work with. I want to make sure that they're a good fit for me and what it is that I'm trying to do, and that I'm going to have the impact that I want. I think, as you know, when you try to do a lot of things at the same time, one of the things you begin to realize is that your time is actually very valuable. And I know a lot of your listeners are moms, and your time is so valuable right now. And I think it's really easy for us to be like, I'm going to do everything for anyone who volunteers, or not volunteers, but who asks me to do something so that I can make money. But the reality is that your time is valuable. And so you want to be spending it in a way that you're going to have the most impact. And so I have learned to say no to things.
Mhm.
I've learned to say no to clients because it's not a good fit for me. As a coach and a consultant and a mentor, I tend to be a little bit more on the challenging side. You might sense that in me. So I'm not the one who's going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. Have you thought about how you could avoid making that, letting that happen again? That's not my style. I'm going to be like, really? Like, you got up 45 minutes, or like, you did something you weren't supposed to and you saw the outcome. So how do we, like, what do we do to make sure it doesn't happen again? But I'm not going to be like the like soft, like, oh, super supportive person. That's just not my personality. I am a challenger. And if you want to grow and you want to be better, then I want to help you get there. But I'm not the best at being like that supportive, like, coach. It's just not my personality. And so you have to be careful when you find clients, right? Because you need to make sure clients know that that's what they're getting with you. And if they're not that good fit, to say no, because it's not going to be a beneficial relationship for them or for you. And so that's one of the things that I do, is I've learned to say no to clients that aren't the right fit, or that I really can't help achieve their goals, because that doesn't help me. But most of that then leads to clients who really have had great wins and are willing to refer me. So most of my business comes in through referrals. And it's so and hey, Jennifer, so and so, I just referred you. And they'll, I'll set up 30 minutes and we'll chat and see if it's a good fit and go through the process again. But I do business primarily through referrals.
I love that. And getting clients that you love. That's great.
Well, and that love me, right? Like, I
Right.
think that we need that too. We
Right.
need, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we need people who are like, wow, you're amazing, you just changed my life. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is why I do it. It's not about that paycheck. It's about that person who says, you changed my life, or you helped me see something that I didn't see for myself. That's why I do this, right? And so sometimes saying no to the wrong client gives me the space to say yes to the things that are really amazing and great opportunities for me.
I love that. I love that. So for a budding entrepreneur, you're doing this, somebody who may have a 9 to 5 and they want to pick up a little side hustle or something. What piece of advice would you give to them?
It needs to be something. You probably have heard this before, but it needs to be something that you're good at,
Mhm.
something that fills your bucket. So if you're familiar with Strength Finder and you're familiar with positive psychology, there are certain things that we do that are within our strengths. And when we do them, it fills our bucket. It makes us happy. And so whatever you do needs to be in that, because it's going to be otherwise very overwhelming to add that to your plate. And then the third thing, which I think is where entrepreneurs most often fail, is it needs to actually have a market. There needs to be people who are willing to pay for whatever that is. And that doesn't mean it can't be something very, very niche or very, very specific. You'd be surprised at sometimes what people really, really want. But you don't want to be like investing a whole bunch of time into something for which there is no market. And so my advice is, find what some options are that are at the intersection of those three things. And then before you go build something, find clients.
I love
Find your first client before you put up a website. Find your first client before you create anything, because you want to know that it's something that is needed, that's going to add value before you ever worry about a website, before you worry about business cards. Like, I find people who are like, let me build business cards. Let me do, and I do this. Like, I love to create things. So I'll go off and create all this stuff and I don't have a client for it. Well, that's not smart. And so I tell myself this, and I share this with all of you as well, is, make sure you've got clients before you go build things.
Okay.
And then build it with them. Hey, I want you to be my guinea pig.
Right. And beta is amazing. Putting things in beta, like, I'm trying this out. Who's interested? It's going to be a low price,
Exactly.
And make sure that they have some type of coinage in it, so that, they commit to doing it with you. But definitely, taking them along with you. I love that.
Yeah, you should definitely charge them. 100% agree with that. Don't do anything for free, because you get different results when you do things for free than you would if you charge. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. My last question for you is that lovely book collection right there that you have.
Yes.
Voila. What is your favorite book, or what book would you suggest that somebody read?
Oh, my favorite book. So what you don't see, because you only see the clean corner of my office right now, is that I actually have 4 bookshelves. So I have hundreds of books in here. And this bookshelf was created basically, I walked around to each bookshelf and I pulled the right colors to create the rainbow behind me. So, but actually there's some really good books on here. The one book that I always recommend to everyone is anything, and it doesn't have to be the book. You can just go to the website and do the assessment, the Strength Finder. I think it's really important to know what the strengths are, or the unique talents that you have that you can bring and leverage, whether it's as a parent, as a person, as an entrepreneur. Knowing yourself, I think, is so important. And so I love Strength Finder, and I always recommend that. And then, there's some really good books up here that are around things that vary from, like, Made to Stick, that talks about communication and messaging. I love everything around happiness. So I've read a ton of books about what are the different elements of your life or different elements that you need in your life to be a happier person. And so I'm sorry, I can't just pick one.
No, that's okay. You don't have to pick one. That's great. I love this selection. I have a lot.
If anyone ever wants a book recommendation, reach out to me, give me your circumstance, and I can be like, here's 3 books that you can read, because I love reading. I have a ton of books. I picked up I'm always picking up new hobbies and new things, trying new things out. And so, comic books are fun. Like, who knew? I'd never read a comic book till like 2 years ago. And now I'm starting a comic book collection. It's being willing to try new things. And sometimes books help me do that. So I definitely would say Strength Finder. And then for entrepreneurs, I think books like Made to Stick, and just learning how, or Story Brand by Donald Miller, if you're familiar with that. Those are great books that just help you with your story and your messaging, which I think is something that can be a challenge for many entrepreneurs.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Jennifer, before you go, where can people connect with you? So your social media links, your website, how do they connect?
So the easiest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So my name, you can search for me and find me. My company's name is Exponential Success. And then I'm also the founder for the Center for Entrepreneurship. So it's spelled entrepreneurship with an I. And so if you look for any of those things on Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll find them, and you can connect. LinkedIn is the easiest way. You can send me a message, and you can ask for a book recommendation, and I'm happy to provide one. And I love connecting and helping people however I can.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We're going to put those links in the show notes below. Thank you for being here with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And you guys, this is the Janelle Show. You guys have a great day.